What happened to Shinji Kagawa? At one time, he was one of the hottest players in the world, and now he's just a wash-up nobody. What exactly happened to him? Well, looking at his Bundesliga days, when he first moved to Borussia Dortmund, he had a very, very good career there. Obviously, in his first season, he got 8 goals and 1 assist. For a player that wasn't even expected to produce these kinds of numbers, he moved from the J League, and he was a player that moved for about, I think it was about 300,000 euro, I think, at the time, which is really nothing. And to be able to produce these kinds of numbers is pretty ridiculous. And he did even better the next season, getting 13 goals and 12 assists. So that is absolutely exceptional. And obviously, he won 2 Bundesliga titles and 2 German Cups during that time as well, under Jurgen Klopp, which was absolutely brilliant. A career that pretty much came out of nowhere, and it was outstanding. And obviously, after his first 2 seasons in the Bundesliga, he moved to Manchester United into the Premier League for about 17 million euro, I believe it was at the time. And his first season, I think he did struggle, but he still got 6 goals and 4 assists. So that's pretty good for a first season in the Premier League. You're a new player. You're trying to get used to your surroundings, your new teammates. You're trying to gel with the team. So that's not too bad. And oh yeah, of course, he made 20 appearances, which is kind of half a season. So, obviously that's not great, but he still posted up some pretty good numbers. Because even in the Bundesliga, he never really had a full season. His second season, he played quite a lot of games. He played 31, but he didn't play the full 34. So, once again, he didn't play the full season. And, back to the Premier League, in his second season, he only made 18 appearances and he only got 4 assists, which isn't great. Um, and I'm not sure about these numbers because when I looked at the actual Premier League record on the website, he actually had 38 appearances with 6 goals and 6 assists. But written down here, I've got he had 6 goals and 8 assists during his time in the Premier League. So I think something's not right with the numbers. I think the numbers I got um, from another website were incorrect, but either way, the numbers are pretty close together. And so, what exactly happened? So his first season was decent. It wasn't the best, but he did alright in the Premier League. So you kind of expected him to kind of kick on and do better, like he did in the Bundesliga. But it never really happened, and it had nothing to do with injuries because obviously he did pick up a niggle here and there, but he just wasn't being played. For some reason, Sir Alex Ferguson didn't really fancy him. For some reason, he didn't feel like, he could really play the player. I'm not really too sure why. It's beyond me. And I'm not really too sure. I can't really put my finger on what happened exactly. Because I'm pretty sure, did David Moyes come in and did Shinji I think Shinji played under David Moyes as well. I don't think that happened, but I think he had a couple of chances there. Then he moved back to the excuse me, back to the Bundesliga. So there was some stuff that went on there as well. But even when you watched him play, he wasn't a bad player, but it seemed to be that the physicality of the Premier League was just too much. He was always being pushed off the he was always being pushed off the ball. Um, obviously his technical ability is pretty good, but if you don't have the strength to keep the ball, then you're just gonna keep being knocked over. Keep you're just gonna keep being knocked over. Yeah, that sounds about right. And the ball's just not gonna stick. So it seems to be what happened is that obviously when he came to the Premier League, he had a pretty good goal scoring and creativity record, but once he actually played in the Premier League, that seemed to disappear because he wasn't able to play at the pace and speed of the league. That seems to be what's happened because there's no really other way to explain it. Because when he moved back to the Bundesliga after his stint in the Premier League, his numbers quickly returned and he started doing a lot better. You know, he got 5 goals and 6 assists on his return to Borussia Dortmund, and then in his second season back, he got 9 goals and 9 assists, which is absolutely brilliant. You know, you can't really ask much more from a midfielder in a season, so that's really good. And yeah, and his first 2 seasons back, he had 28 and 29 appearances, so you know, some really high numbers there, so that was good. And yeah, just a really, really weird period for him in the Premier League. Obviously a great player, but just couldn't quite make it in the Premier League. And on top of that, I think he was being played out of position because, you know, there were periods where he was playing out wide, which isn't his natural position. And if you put a player in an unnatural position, they're obviously not going to perform nowhere near as well. So that happened, and yeah, that's about it. Obviously, he's had a decent career. You know, he's had a better career than most players will probably ever have, but he had so much potential that he just didn't live up to. And that's about it.